Well, hello, folks. I thought I would make a video about the state of the animation industry and talk a little bit about some of the things that my friend Steven Silver mentioned. And Steven, if you see this, you know I love you, and I think that I'm glad that you said what you did because it needs to be said. And thank you also, Steven, for being a great part of our industry and encouragement to everyone, particularly the young people who are starting out. All of us old guys now, we have to pass that baton on to the old younger folks and give them some help and give them some encouragement. Um, I'm making this primarily because of Stephen talking about it recently about the what he felt were the mistakes that we made or has been made when they recently negotiated with the studios. And I certainly agree with him about all of what he said. I've been retired now for about 5 years. I got out of the business in 2020, rather the pandemic started. And but since then, I've still been teaching animation and storyboarding online, and I've also continued to do my own animated projects. I've been saying for quite some time now to my students, because I've been teaching for well over 35 years now at several different schools. I taught at Otis College, I taught at Laguna College, taught at the Art Institute in the Art Academy, I'm sorry, in San Francisco. I've taught at a lot of places and, still doing it here and there. And I've been saying this for a while to students that you should do your own stuff. I've been doing my own stuff since I got into this business back in 1976 was when I started in this business. So you can see I've been in it for a long time. And back when I started, the animation industry was quite different. Studios were run by artists. There were a lot of small studios. We still had a lot of problems, in terms of controlling what we did. And our union has had its issues. We haven't been the strong union that we'd like to be, but we certainly have been active, and we certainly been very passionate about what we've been doing. Stephen couldn't be more accurate, when he talks about the AI situation and the fact that a lot of the work has gone overseas, which it has, and that's always been an issue. And having been a businessman myself, I certainly understand why studios would want to save money and cut corners and everything. So there's arguments on both sides of the ledger, but fair treatment is fair treatment. And as artists, we have always been more concerned about the work we're doing than the business side of it, and that's been an issue in and of itself. Anyway, I think what I want to get to here is the need for artists to be independently creative. I think that it's important. There's a couple of things that artists need to be aware of, and animators as well, and anybody in the animation business or anybody trying to get into the animation business. We're the ones with the ideas. We're the ones with the creative spirit. We're the ones that want to do something. Our business has been set up a certain way whereby it takes a lot of us to make something. Okay. We've been working under a paradigm that has been the way it has been for decades. All the studios have been accustomed to having hundreds, if sometimes not thousands, of people who work on one project at a time. And it is a lucrative job. When it's good, it's great. Animation will go on. It is going on. And the AI thing is an issue, yeah, because it obviously is a way around for studios to get around having large crews. So yeah, it's a danger. But I think in some ways, as artists, we're more of a danger to ourselves when we're unwilling to change, when we see problems happen, and we're unwilling to make adjustments. We become our own worst enemy in the business, and it's more important to, um, be true to yourself. Um, so what am I saying? I'm saying that there's some things that we're not going to be able to stop. Obviously the AI is here. It's not going to go away. It is a tool, in my opinion. Um, can it replace you? Well, a tool like this is going to do what it's going to do. All right. I don't think that it can be as creative as an artist can be, but I think in the hands of an artist, it could be a very powerful tool. It could be very helpful. I don't think we should be afraid of it. As far as studios taking over and taking away work, and they want to do that anyway. When I got into this business, studios were fighting that problem. That goes back to when I first came in, '76. I remember Hanna Barbera. I believe there was a whole issue of it was struck, and we struck over it. Well, the ink and paint people did, because most of that work was being sent overseas, and there was a big strike because they wanted to keep that work here. Outsourcing has always been an issue, because big companies always are looking to save money and line their pockets or whatever it is they're going to do. This is human nature, you know. All the more reason then for artists to have more control over what they do. Um, Hollywood right now is kind of, I don't know if I'd say Hollywood's in an uproar, because since I've been retired, in that sense, I'm kind of out of the loop. But if I look at the trades, if I look at the news, and I hear what people are saying, even about live action movies and everything, it clearly tells me that there's been a tremendous change in the way entertainment is absorbed and appreciated, which I think is a good thing. Social media has made it possible for you and I and anybody to do something. But hey, you want to get a job, you want to make some money. So what are you gonna do? You gotta go work for a studio, right? Especially if you're young and you're starting out. Understandable, okay. And like Steven said, there's gaps. There will be opportunities for you to work. It's not like that there won't be any work. I think if anything, the studios are going to always look for talented people. They might not hire as many. More than likely, they probably won't. Especially if AI can do a lot of jobs. This is just it's reality, and there's very little we can do about it. You say, well, Leonard, that's easy for you to say because you're retired. You don't have to worry about it. Well, not exactly. I'm interested in getting back in doing some things myself. I haven't done that yet on a big level. Kind of enjoying being retired, but at the same time, it's like I'm a passionate artist. I care about what I do. I care about what artists are doing. This is why I train people. Um, and I can honestly tell you, quite a few years ago, I felt a little guilty teaching animation, because I felt like, well, I'm training people for jobs that don't exist, or at least I didn't think they did. Luckily, I found out that I was kind of wrong about that the jobs do exist. It's just not as many of them. But anyway, I think if anything, I would want to encourage you, young people or old people or anybody who's doing this. Uh, Stephen was right on the money. We just keep doing what you're doing. But what you need to do is you need to be an entrepreneur. You need to be someone who thinks in a business mind. Now, I can say this very confidently because I have my own business. I worked in the business for 40 plus years, but part of that time, I had my own company. I actually had an animation business in Minneapolis when we lived there. We lived there about 3 years. And 2 of those 3 years, I had my own studio and I was working for Warner Brothers. But I was, what's the word? I was vendor for Warner Brothers, or I was helping. I was doing work for them, but they weren't the only people I was doing work for. But I had my own company, and I did PSAs. I did public, service announcement stuff. I did. We did my studio. We did segments out of feature films. I did some work for a company and a couple of companies up in Canada, and so in other words, I was my own service, animation service. And it was a small thing, but we did okay. So I have a business sense, not the best one, but it worked for me. So what I'm saying is that I think artists need to develop a business sense as well as working as an artist, because with your business sense, then what happens is then you start to think about how you can produce something and the way you're going to go about doing it, and how you might create a revenue stream. A lot of you, I notice when I go to the conventions like Lightbox Expo, I see a lot of you wonderful young folks with your own artwork out there, and you're selling postcards, and you're selling books, and you're selling little stuffed things or whatever. Good for you. That, and it's like what Stephen was saying. That's exactly what you should be doing. Do your own stuff. Now, as far as animation goes, I mean, let's face it, we all would prefer, well, at least I know I would prefer sitting at the table and animating and working on something and getting that paycheck every week, right? Who doesn't want to do that, right? I mean, I know even now, as being retired, I would love to have a project doing it. And actually, I am doing stuff, but I'm not getting paid for it. But it would be great to have something where I could just sit here and work, you know, 5 days out of the week, several hours a day, however many, and work on some really quality project, right? That eventually could go out and maybe make some money. So, but the point I'm making about saying that is that the business mind says we have to think outside the box. And see, here's the thing: we're all stuck in this, and I say the paradigm that exists, how animation is done commercially and how you make money from it. How does that happen? Somebody has an idea, somebody sells the idea to a company, there's money provided, pre-production is set up, uh, artists are hired, business people are hired, production is made, production is finished, production is distributed, whether it be television, streaming, movies. There are people who pay that maybe sponsors, like for commercials that, if they're doing short form or TV shows where the sponsors are paying for the show, or distribution, or companies are paying a certain amount of money, or distributors paying a certain amount of money. Movie goes out. If it's a movie, box office makes hundreds of millions of dollars, and the investors get their money back. But the money is exchanged in a certain order, and the artists are kind of in the middle of all of this, between the people who have the ideas that sell those ideas and the final product being either on a movie screen or streaming Netflix or whatever. We're in the middle. And the company that hires us usually is a production company. They have a budget that has been greenlit from their company or distributors or investors or however, wherever that money comes from, and then we're paid out of that, and then we're done with that, and we do another one. Okay, but it's a pipeline, you see, and it has not changed. Hollywood, is still the same way. If you look at live action, it has not changed. You still have the directors and the producers and the camera people and the grips and the actors and it's just the way it is. But today we've got social media. Whoa, which has changed the complete paradigm of how entertainment is absorbed. People are not just necessarily watching movies much anymore. They might be, if they are watching a movie, they're watching it on their phone or they're watching it on the computer, whatever. You've got YouTube, which is the biggest boom to start the whole idea of being a content creator. You're making your own stuff, making it in your home or however you're making it, but you're free to make what you want. The only difference is you don't get paid every week. However, if you're lucky enough to get viral videos or do well, and this is how YouTube works it, you may then be able to make a good living being a YouTube content creator. And I myself have been on YouTube for many years and I haven't made a penny from it yet. But a lot of that is because I didn't really understand how it worked. I know more about it, how it works now, than I did when I started. But the potential is there. And then, of course, you have YouTube. It can also be a block in a way because, um, as is, it's hard enough just getting noticed on a platform that basically has billions of people on it, really. I mean, there's no other way to say it. Of course, you're going to get lost in the melees. But then they have their partner program where basically, I guess you get a certain number of subscribers, I guess 100,000 subscribers or 50,000 or whatever. And then it is that point that I guess YouTube can decide that they're going to put you into this partner program where your work starts to get seen in other words, be able to be noticed by the crowd of people that you might possibly get monetization. Your monetization would then come from how they've set the algorithm up and all that. So in reality, they have a system that does work, but they have a policy or way that they work it. So you're still kind of at the what's the word, the mercy of the way they've set up the system. And of course, you've heard of people being demonetized and all that. I mean, there's so much of this that I'm still kind of learning about myself. You all the thing that's the most frustrating for creative people is getting what you make to the people that would buy it. It's hard enough to get it made, and then even when you get it made, then you're fighting to get it. You know, anyway. But I'm saying all this. I'm saying to if you start thinking from a business person's standpoint, then you start to think differently. You start to think, well, what other ways? What else can I do? And like I said, a lot of you young folks who will go to these conventions and you have, you know, your vendors there. I'm sure some of you basically make quite a bit of money. Some of you make a fair amount of money, I'm assuming, doing that. And that's very smart because you're doing that is you're encouraging yourself as a business. I did it myself. I used to be at every year. I used to be at the Long Beach Comic Con, which was a fun convention. And I'm going to start doing conventions again. I really enjoyed it. Never made a lot of money, but the point was is that it's just a good thing to make that connection with the public. It changes the way you think as an artist, and it helps you to um, realize that you need to branch out, try stuff for yourself. Because, like I said, and you need to have that mindset. But know this: I believe there's a niche market for anybody and everybody in the world. There's going to be folks that's going to like what you do specifically, and if you present it well or whatever, what's to say, right? There are people, who will like what you do. Can you make a living doing that? Maybe, maybe not. But, if nothing ventured, nothing gained. So, but I guess at this point, like I said, after looking at Steven's video, he's like me. He's very passionate. God bless him, and I am too. And I think that like I said, he's right. So you know, listen, Steven's right on the money. He's telling you what he's telling you because he cares, and those of us who work in this business, we care. So we just want to help you, young folks, out. And but you do need to have a business sense. But I want it to be a little bit more encouraging if I can. It's just my nature to try to be. Um, about this AI stuff. I think that the AI stuff is like anything else. We're always a little reticent to embrace new technology. On the one hand, it could be bad, it can be devastating, it could be terrible. On the other hand, it could be great. So I think it really is how it's used. I think perhaps what I would have to say about AI is that if you're smart and you know how to use it. I was talking with a friend of mine about this a while back when AI kind of got kicked in, and I don't remember who it was I was talking to, but and I basically said, I said, you watch who's going to use this AI stuff in animation first. I said I thought it would be the South Park guys. And the reason why I said that is that because these guys have been smart about business, everything they've been doing, they've just been really smart about it. When they started South Park, however many years ago, and they'd had that first animated Christmas special thing they did. And I remember in the industry that there was this videotape going around with this little videotape. Oh, you kids probably, oh, they had videotape. Yeah, we had videotape, and it was of this Christmas special that they aired. It was one of the first South Park specials, and it was animated, I believe, with cutouts. It was stop motion by hand. And and it was funny, as all of the South Park shows are. And we just thought, like, wow, this is really, really creative. This is really. And I remember thinking right then, I said, these guys are pretty smart. Well, of course, as you know, they went on doing fantastic stuff, and they have, I think, next to The Simpsons, they have the longest running TV series ever. I wouldn't be. I think they're probably up to 30 seasons now. I don't know. I don't know anymore. But I said when the AI kicked in just recently, and this is recently as within, I guess, the last couple of years, I said, you watch, it's going to be these South Park guys. And sure enough, and I don't know this for a fact. I'm spitballing. I don't know. But I think I was talking to the same friend I was talking to before. And I think he sent me a video basically saying that what they might do, or I don't remember exactly how we got to this conversation, but what that they would use AI to make a series. And then I remember thinking like, well, that makes great sense because they've got all this library, right? As I back in the day, back when animation was done on paper and all that, before digital and everything, there was a company called Filmation. A lot of you young folks probably don't know too much about it, but they did a very popular series called He-Man. And most of the old folks like me know that. And most of us worked at Filmation at one time or another. And Filmation used to have something they called the stock system. What it was anytime that there was a piece of animation that was done that they thought they could reuse, they would save it. And then whenever they had a new show, if they could reuse the animation, maybe put a new background behind it or whatever, that would save you from having to do new animation. Because in a lot of shows, you got characters talking to each other and walking from point A to point B, and you might have a good scene that you could just reuse that scene, and so they was really smart, and of course, Lou Scheimer, who ran the studio, created the studio, God bless him. He was determined to keep his animation company, all in the U.S., and he did that, and that we just love you, Lou. I know he's passed away. Great guy, man, but he did that and proved that we could do the animation here. We didn't have to outsource it. Okay. Well, here we've got AI. So I see AI doing a similar thing where you could take say, a library of work, like the South Parks have already got. These guys have got libraries of all their characters moving around. What's to say they couldn't get an AI prompted to create a whole new show? They could not only just create one show, they already create one show quickly. I mean, they're the only company that can do an entire episode in a week. That was just unheard of. This is part of the reason why they've been so successful. But with AI, imagine they could not just do one show. They could probably do an entire, say, 13 episode or maybe 39 episode instantly, really, with AI. Well, that's pretty smart. But see, these guys are thinking. You see, they've got their own thing. So what am I saying? I'm saying that AI in the hands of a creative person is a good thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be bad. And see, the studios, let's face it, if you got the products made already, like in the case of South Park, let's say, I don't know how that negotiation works, but let's say you got 13 episodes of something that you had AI help you make, where you had stuff that you built. Let's say you did what I like to call a Bible or whatever, set up your show. This is something that you would do in a normal show. You would design your characters and you do mouth movements, or maybe you could even do actions or whatever, repeated things. And you could maybe make something that then your AI could access that to make a show. Obviously you probably have to go back in and make some adjustments. You can't just hit a few things, hit a few prompts, and it's going to make the show. It's going to be perfect. More than likely, you're going to have to go back in and do some things to it. But the point is that if you've got something that you've made, you're using the AI to help you make it, you can then still have people that are hired to work. You have your own scenario, and a company, or say a Netflix or whatever, could come and buy your show, because more than likely that's what they're going to do. They might not want to pay for production, but let's say, for instance, if you've got a 13 episode show idea that you have an AI create for you, okay, and you could sell it to Netflix and say, well, but you sell it for the price it would be made by hand. Yeah, you say, well, a 13 episode show would probably be about $6 million. Well, Netflix will go, oh, that's it. And they'll probably pay you the $6 million to get 13 episodes because they're already made. Netflix is not going to share their subscription fee with you. And this has been the big bugaboo about streaming services. How do you make that deal? Well, I don't know how they're doing it, but I got to think that if they buy your show, an AI made show, and it's funny and it's engaging, and let's say they paid you $6 million, well, now you got $6 million in your hand. Now, what do you do with that $6 million? Well, see, you're on the other end of that $6 million. It didn't cost you $6 million to make it, but now you got it. So now you can take that $6 million and do something else. And if you're doing your own, if you've got your own thing, then you can sustain yourself. Like I do small projects. I people come to me and I do little small animations, 10 seconds, a minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, and I don't charge a lot of money. I charge thousands. It's not enough, but But the point is that let's say you were making something really good. Well, at the end of the pipeline, if you've got something, you've got something that you could maybe sell yourself. You could maybe put it on a DVD. You could maybe set up your own website, play it, sell it that way. But you could advertise it on YouTube. One of the things I liked about I don't know how many of you have seen Louis C.K.'s videos. He made a movie and he sold it. I bought it. Really good movie, by the way, on his site, and he charged something like $10 for it or whatever. It was a download. Well, I think that's a great way. But of course, Louis C.K. has a fan base, you see. So, if he puts a commercial on YouTube or Instagram or whatever, people see it and they go, oh, and they'll watch it and they'll go, oh, I can get his movie, great. And you say, well, I'm not Louis C.K. Leonard. I don't have that kind of popularity. That's true. But if you've got a good little short and people, it's eye catching, and you put it on, like a little trailer or something, and put it on YouTube or whatever, just give them a few seconds, but something really spicy. And they might go, oh, hey, what's this? And they might click on it and buy it. So this is another way to think outside the box. You see, don't instead of expecting the big company like Disney or whoever to hire you, not to say that you give up on that completely, but have another way to look at how you're going to produce what you're doing, and another way to create a revenue stream. That's what I'm talking about. And this is where I could say that AI could be very helpful. I don't I don't know all the ins and outs of AI. I'm just learning about it myself. But I would think that I look at these things as tools that they can be effective and helpful to the independent. So anyway, that's just my take. All right. Well, this is probably the longest video I think I've made, but I want to encourage you, particularly young people, but anybody in the animation business, don't give up. We're the creative ones. We're the ones with the ideas. I think Hollywood is kind of floundering right now, to be honest, on all levels, not just on animation. I saw a video earlier where there were a couple of guys who were talking about Quentin Tarantino saying that the movie industry's kind of died, and that the last movies he thought came out in 2019. I can't say I really disagree with that. I mean, we've got a few things that have come out, but people are not going to the movies like they used to before, and there's a reason for that. So I think the fact that we're creative, where we sell ourselves short the most is being unwilling to change, thinking that the system as it is needs to change a lot of for you in order for it to be better. My stepping back from it and looking at it, what I see is that we have to change. Because if you've got something that's good and you're business minded enough to figure out a way to get it out there where people can see it, I think they'll come looking for you. These companies like Netflix, I don't. I mean, my personal take on it. I've been a producer and a director. I know I've been in the rooms with the people who've done the creative stuff and made the decisions. A lot of them don't have good ideas. A lot of them are not creative. Creative executive. You know, we're the ones that have the creativity, but we sell ourselves short. And we're happy to be the little minions here working on our little drawing tables and. But if we get some business sense, what can we do? And some of you have figured that out already. So, all right. Well, anyway, enough of me yammering. But I think the main thing is to be encouraged. Don't give up. It's things are maybe not as bad as they seem, and in fact, in some ways, it might actually our opportunities may be about to open up. especially if we take advantage of this. And I've seen a lot of even my friends who are my age. A lot of them are already making stuff. I've made a few films and so, so I think things are might be going in a really good direction. And as far as independence goes, there's already a breakout in creativity and animation. I think we're just going to see more and more of that. All right, folks. Well, look, have a beautiful day. Stay well. Don't forget to be thank God for your talent and abilities that you do have, because that's how you got them. And for those of you who are learning, there's plenty to learn. Also, too, if you're interested in classes in animation, I teach a class. I teach one-on-one. So if you're interested in a class, you can contact me through my email, which is my name, Leonard Robinson at yahoo.com. I'll probably put it in the description below, and feel free to give me a contact, and I'll be happy to do a one-on-one class. I do one-on-one classes online because, as I mentioned in a previous video, everybody learns at different rates. So I like one-on-one because I can tailor the class to you. Instead of you being in a big room with a lot of people and missing out on something, I can talk to you directly, and I can give you what you need specifically, which I believe is more beneficial to you. I do an animation class, a character design class, and a storyboard class. Okay, and they're not too expensive. My classes are generally between 200 and $325 for my storyboard class is $325 for 15 weeks. They're 3-hour sessions. My animation class and my character design class are both $250 for the entire class, and they are 10-week classes, and they're 2-hour sessions. So, okay. Have a beautiful day, and don't forget, Jesus is Lord.